there's that line, "This is the worst trip I've ever been on," which is a double entendre because like obviously like they're on a trip because it's about a boat, but it's also like an acid trip. I would say,
Mike, uh-oh.
uh-oh, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
it's
Mike,
No. Don't worry, Mike. We were talking about a boat.
like, okay, I like boats.
All right, boats. Ah, like
We,
Kokomo.
yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Jake, and welcome to the 61st episode of Good Timin. As always in this podcast, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite bands, the Beach Boys. And on today's show, we're finally going to be covering the band's legendary 1966 album, Pet Sounds. So, as usual with our album discussion episodes, we're first going to go over some of the history and background behind the record, and then we will go track by track through the album and share our own thoughts and opinions on each song. And then lastly, at the end of the episode, we will briefly talk about a couple of extra tracks and recordings that Brian recorded around this time. So, joining me for tonight's episode, I have my good friends Riley and Matt. So as always, I'm happy to have you guys here, and I can't wait to talk about this incredible album with you all. So before we get into some of the history behind Pet Sounds, do you guys have any general thoughts or feelings about the record that you wanted to share?
so for a long time I used to say this was my favorite Beach Boys album. I don't have it ranked as my favorite anymore, but I still think obviously an incredible record. One of the most influential pop albums ever made. For many people, Brian's magnum opus. Really had, just an impact on popular music in general. I mean, for starters, we wouldn't have Sergeant Pepper's if it wasn't for this, let alone everything else this influenced. And yeah, just an amazing record. I think, I don't think there's much you can say about Pet Sounds that hasn't been said already.
Everything that can be said has been said. That's why I've been dreading doing this one. I think it's one of those records whether you like it or not. Um, I think everybody can kind of agree just its impact. I remember arguing with one of my friends from school about I think sometime last year. We were talking about music, and I mentioned Pet Sounds. Like, oh, you really like that thing? I'm like, yeah, man, it's like pretty influential. I mean, like, I'm like, you don't like it, right? It's like, no, not really. It's the Beach Boys. I'm like, well, can you honestly tell me that it's not influential? He's like, you got me there. So like and he's like one of those stubborn people I know. So in the fact that even he admitted it, it's just kind of shocking. You don't even have to know too much about music to just you don't have to know the exact influence it's had, but you can't deny it. Um, I mean, even the smaller thing is just like the general lyrical topic, the topical lyrics of just like general, not necessarily like teenage heartbreak like they were doing on today, but just like heartbreak in general and depression and that kind of stuff. Like that was, it sounds crazy, but like back then, like how many songs were really talking about those kind of topics? Um, I
Not
think
much.
in some ways there's like a commentary and reflection of how music was the past couple of years before, but it's also kind of foreshadowing things that are happening above with a lot of the recording techniques. I mean, you can look at Sergeant Pepper's as the easy example in terms of influence, but I mean, if you dig deeper, some of the most acclaimed albums of all time that came after him, the easy one that pops into my head is Odyssey and Oracle by the Zombies. And then if you kind of make it a little bit more of like a like domino effect after that, I mean, you kind of have the whole emergence of like Sunshine Pop and the stuff that was coming after. And if you want to get really like into it, there is a direct line from Pet Sounds to Sergeant Pepper's to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon to pretty much every record that came after. So even if it has the smallest influence on one of those albums, that album that it influenced so many more, and it's just insane domino effect, a ripple effect. But in terms of the actual album itself, it's like Matt said, it's not my personal favorite Beach Boys album, but there is some degree of like objectiveness in terms of just how good it is. If you even if you don't like it, it is undeniably influential on the music at the time and still music today.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is one of those albums that you often will see ranked very highly on a lot of those like greatest album of all time lists, and I think for good reason. I think it's just an amazing record from start to finish. There's just so much that I love about it. You have the really interesting songwriting and production from Brian, the beautiful arrangements played by the Wrecking Crew, the really moving and relatable lyrics from Tony Asher, and then of course the guy's amazing vocals as well. I'll admit that the first couple of times that I listened to this album years ago, I honestly kind of struggled to really appreciate it as a whole. But then after listening to it more over time, and also kind of experiencing some of the feelings and emotions that are conveyed in a lot of the songs on here, it really did start to click with me. And now I do consider it one of my very favorite albums by the band. Of course, it was obviously very innovative and very influential at the time that it came out. But personally, I really do think that this album holds up very well, even today. And I think that a lot of that is really just like the beauty of the songwriting and the arrangements. And I'd also say just the very honest and vulnerable lyrics. You guys know I love the Beatles, but I have to say I don't really think that they put out an album that was as emotionally heavy and as emotionally moving as this one. And for me, that's another thing that I think really makes this record stand out compared to a lot of other albums that were released around that time. So I think it's an incredible record. Like Riley said, it's not my absolute favorite Beach Boys album, but I think there is definitely a case to be made. This is objectively, one of the greatest albums of all time. Objectively, probably the greatest Beach Boys album, or Brian album, however you want to view it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an incredible album, though, and I'm really excited to hear, your.
I would argue it has the best lyrics of any Beach Boys album.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I like I love Today, but there's some lyrics on that album that are like not even bad, just different they're a little less mature.
yeah,
Dude, Tony Asher killed it on this one. I mean, I'm almost upset he didn't connect more with Brian on more albums in the future. But I mean, the timeline's messy, and he wanted to do different things. But dude, for a guy who wrote like radio jingles, who like, let's be honest, radio jingles in the '60s are not the most mature thing. Dude, he just did such a good job, and I think he gets so overshadowed by everything around surrounding this album. Like that, obviously the production is insane and influential
hmm
and
hmm
inventive, and obviously the songwriting is on a different level and at its most mature. But the strictly looking at the lyrics, like these are there's we've mentioned it before, but they're like so simple, but they're just gorgeous and mature and emotional. And I don't think they get enough mention. I think when people talk about this one, so everybody talk. I mean, Brian is a genius, but everybody talks about this is Brian's like baby and stuff. But like, he got Tony Asher to write pretty much all the lyrics, and it's just
Yeah.
so
Well, also
incredible.
for some people, Smile overshadows this too because Van Dyke Parks wrote the best lyrics, and that's how some people feel. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's how some people feel.
If you want to see,
I think part of I've said this before on past episodes for sure, but like I just feel like and this kind of adds to what Riley said, but like the lyrics manage to be really moving and really honest and really like emotional, but they're also not pretentious like in any way. Like they're just very
over and over, the crow cries uncovered.
right. Like that's you look at some of the Smile lyrics and stuff, and like yeah, there's some really cool stuff there, but I just feel like these lyrics. The reason people really connect with this album, a big part of it is just like how vulnerable and how relatable these lyrics are. I mean, I feel like most people have been through a lot of the experiences that this album is pretty much like referring to. Heartbreak and loss of innocence, all those things. I feel like we all kind of have those feelings, and as we go through the track list, we'll probably talk more about those themes. But I just think it's one of the most relatable albums for a lot of people. So.
It's funny too. I just want to say one thing before we get into it. I'd say it's not my favorite Beach Boys album. I own 5 copies of the damn thing because I have
Me with Holland, don't worry.
the Analog Productions stereo vinyl. That's this right here. I
And
have the Carl and the Passions mono twofer from the 70s on vinyl. I have the DCC Gold CD from the 90s. I have the Analog Productions Super Audio CD Hybrid, which has the mono stereo mix, and then I have the Blu-ray set, which has all the sessions crap on it. So it's like I have 5 copies of the damn thing.
yeah,
So
I got one. It's like it's the 2016, I think, remaster on
so
record.
this is officially the album I own the most copies of. Period.
There's one in my local record store that's going for like 90, and I always see it on the shelf, and I'm tempted, man. Because I mean, I don't think anybody could just come in and just grab that, but it's been there for a couple months now, and
Mhm.
If it's an
just
original
spend it.
pressing, it's not worth it because they don't sound that good. You're better off just getting from the Passions.
I'm pretty happy with my 2016 pressing.
Yeah, that's not bad, Andy. That's a pretty good one too. But yeah, it's original pressings of this is not particularly good.
All right, so now to get into some of the history behind the album, I'm going to hand things over to Matt. So Matt, do you want to talk a bit about where the Beach Boys were at in 1966, and then also what led Brian to start recording the material that would become Pet Sounds?
Sure. So 65, 66. We had Today, we had Summer Days. So with those albums, you're starting to see more of a maturation, especially with Today, a maturation of the themes that are Brian was exploring in the music, and the music itself started getting more complex. So kind of what was seen as the catalyst for Pet Sounds was released in December of 65, and it was Rubber Soul. Now, not the British Rubber Soul, which most people are familiar with today, but the American Rubber Soul. So, for those who are not aware, the Capitol rearranged a lot of Beatles albums for the American market, and the American Rubber Soul basically became more of a folky kind of album. It opens with "I've Just Seen a Face," and it Brian just fell in love with it. Brian felt it was a very cohesive album. He felt it had no filler, and he felt that it really was just like, this is the ultimate rock LP. In fact, actually, in the United States, there was no single release from Rubber Soul. Nowhere Man was a single, but that was not on Rubber Soul in the United States. That was on Yesterday and Today. So Brian really saw this as like, okay, I need to step up to the plate and really make what I think is going to be something that can top Rubber Soul. So Brian in 1965 had met Tony Asher. Tony Asher was an ad jingle writer, as Riley mentioned. Never really had much experience with songwriting, but Brian kind of hired him to take kind of what he was kind of the thoughts he had about the music and kind of put it into layman's terms. So I know Asher has kind of said, it's really was Brian's thoughts. I was just kind of hired as an interpreter. So Asher took kind of what Brian was thinking of at the time and just put it in ways that like the listener, they could convey the thoughts to the listener without being too complex. And I think that's something that I think you really see on Pet Sounds, where the lyrics that Asher wrote are very relatable, but they're also very complex and meaningful. Most of Pet Sounds was recorded with the Wrecking Crew because the Beach Boys were primarily touring around the world, especially in Japan. In fact, on the back of the LP, you can see some pictures of them in their Japanese garb. They dressed up as samurais, so that's pretty cool.
Kimonos.
Yeah, kimonos and stuff. That's really cool. And so Brian was working a lot with the Wrecking Crew. The only song on Pet Sounds that I know is primarily the band is "That's Not Me." That one has Dennis on there, and most of the songs were written with Tony Asher. Mike did. "I'm Waiting for the Day." That was a song that had been written a couple of years before, so they kind of dug that one out. And then Mike rewrote. "I Know There's an Answer." It was originally called "Hang On to Your Ego."
Mm-hmm.
That one was actually not written with Tony Asher. That one was written with Terry Satchin, who was the band's road manager. Mike didn't care for the song because he felt it was about drugs and ego trips. So
See
he
the insert that clip from Love and Mercy, where he's like, "It's a druggy song, Brian."
Yeah, so basically they rewrote it as "I Know There's an Answer." What's very interesting about Pet Sounds too is that Brian was using a lot of stuff that you didn't really use in rock music, and in some cases not really on recorded music at all. We had the French horn, we had the electrotheremin, we had bicycle horns, we had Coca-Cola bottles, we had,
Dogs
Brian
barking.
taking the microphone and, putting it in the piano and plucking Tony Asher plucking the piano strings as he hits on the piano in the opening of You Still Believe in Me, and just stuff like that like, he was just so inventive, especially because like you keep in mind that this was back in the day when, I think this was an 8-track machine. So this was one of the first Beach Boys albums that was recorded on 8-track. It was brand new in LA at the time. And what Brian would do is he would take the whole mix it down into one track of the 8-track, and then he would give each of the boys one track of the 8-track machine, and then use the last one for like sweetening up the vocals. And it's just really incredible what he was doing with only 8 tracks. I think Bob Dylan, there's a quote he said one time where he's like, "Jesus, that ear, they should give it to the Smithsonian because of what he did with so little tracks." Um,
Jeez, that ear, you gotta give it to the Smithsonian.
Yeah, something with the Smithsonian. There are also two instrumentals on Pet Sounds. We'll get into those. So that's kind of new. Not new, but they fit more thematically, I would say, than they had before. I would argue too, Summer Means New Love fits thematically on Summer Days, but it did feel like, with the exception of Surfs Up, a lot of the instrumentals, at least to me, felt more like afterthoughts. Like, let's just fill up. Here they fit thematically a lot better. And also, what's noteworthy is the song Caroline No. Now, that song was actually originally released as a Brian Wilson solo single. And Brian had apparently gone on record as saying, had that been a hit, I wouldn't even have released this as a Beach Boys album. I would have released it as a solo album. It didn't do anything. Sloop John B, by comparison, was a massive hit. And I know there's been some debate over the years whether or not it was intended for Pet Sounds. I'm not gonna get into that, but it ended up on Pet Sounds. It was a big hit. And like as we've mentioned before, Pet Sounds is seen as like an early concept album. I mean, not really an early concept, but it's like, kind of some people say it's a concept album because it's like the lyrics are introspective. We talk about heartbreak and loss of innocence and everything. And this album wasn't a massive success in the States when it first came out, though it didn't do as badly as some people would led to believe. It did go top 10 and it did sell about 500,000 copies. But Capitol was disappointed, especially coming after Summer Days and even Party. Party was rushed out because this wasn't ready and that outsold it. And then, of course, they did one of, in my opinion, the stupidest things. They put out Best of the Beach Boys Volume 1 right after this, and that kind of undercut this. And then, of course, some of the tracks they put on there didn't make any sense, but that's another topic for another day. But Bruce Johnston took a copy of this to the UK, an acetate of it, and played it for, like Keith Moon and, John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And a lot of them just fell in love with it. They just thought, oh my God, this is incredible. And in the UK, they just kind of really embraced this album. The whole Brian Wilson is a genius. They just fell in love with it. And as a result, the album sold very well in the UK. I think it went to number 2 on the charts. And the Beach Boys actually, partly because of this, partly because of Good Vibrations, they ended up being voted by the readers of Enemy magazine as the world vocal group, topping the Beatles. They actually beat the Beatles in that poll. And then just a little comment on the cover art. This was actually photographed at the San Diego Zoo. Now, the video footage for this photo shoot has been found. Um, it was lost for a very long time. And allegedly, they got in trouble with the zoo, and apparently they got banned from the zoo,
And they said the Beach Boys aren't rock and roll.
which is pretty funny. I don't know what they were doing. I guess horsing around with the animals. Um, this cover also, I know, has been much debated. Some people think it's bad, like Capitol did them a disservice with this. Other people think it's cozy and it fits the album. Your mileage will vary on that. But that's kind of the background of Pet Sounds.
Mm-hmm. Bruce called that cover the worst cover in the history of the record business. So
About going public.
I mean, what's funny? Michael Nesmith said that about More of the Monkeys the next year. He said that was the worst album cover ever.
There's some awful album covers. If anything, this one's just kind of average.
Yeah, honestly, I've grown to appreciate it over time. I
I
don't
think
think it really fits the music.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
more of the gripe with it. I think that people have. It's not necessarily that it's the worst cover to look at, and it obviously has kind of taken on iconic status now. Everybody knows that cover now. But when you listen to the music on the album, is it really at all representative of the what Brian was doing? Not really. It's just kind of there's the guys at the zoo. It's
Yeah, I think
Yeah, average like mid-60s kind of thing.
you
yeah,
know.
so the title Pet Sounds, while we're talking about the title,
Mhm.
there's two different theories for that. One, apparently Michael Levitt just said, "Who's gonna listen to this shit? Someone with the ears of a dog or something like that." And then Brian's like, "Oh, Pet Sounds." But other
I
people
doubt
think he called, yeah, that's probably just cooked up. More likely, they called it Pet Sounds because it was Brian's pet project and it was some of his favorite sounds. And I think
Yeah.
Capitol probably saw pet and thought petting zoo, boom. That's just how record
it. Yeah.
players thought back
I,
then.
I think Mike was pretty supportive of the music. I think if there's anything he's upset about, it was just that he wasn't really as involved with the
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been quoted as saying that he wishes that he could have contributed some more, he had been able to help with the lyrics. He also wanted to contribute some more lead vocals, using his voice since it was so recognizable in all those hits. He just felt why aren't we incorporating my voice more? But I will say his contributions on here vocally are great. Some of the best vocals
yeah.
he ever did. So
And I think he's very supportive of it now. I mean, I
now he's
remember,
sure,
I
yeah.
remember seeing him for the first time in 2015 or 2016. And I knew jack shit about music. I was into the Beatles, but that was about it. That was my only and I think ironically at that time the Four Seasons of all bands was actually the other one I was really into. And I remember going there, but one of the core things I remember was the amount of times he name dropped Pet Sounds at the show. I remember our seats, he was like, "Oh, here's one that we did off the album Pet Sounds," and then I think is probably one of the big ones that he did, and then another one, he's like, "Here's another one off the album Pet Sounds," and then as a joke, he's like, "Can you guys guess what album this one came from?" Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
I think it was like he ripped into like Soup John B, but he's very fond of the album now. I think he he's got a lot of shit going on today, but he is very supportive of the music.
For
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. For sure.
Something interesting too that is worth mentioning as well. There's a funny. I actually just learned this recently, but apparently, obviously, like when they were first playing this material for like the Capitol executives, they were a bit concerned about it. They're like, well, this is a completely different direction that they're going. How are we supposed to like market this thing? Like at the time, a lot of their fan base was kind of similar to the Beatles. It was a lot of younger female fans. That was kind of the demographic, and this was just something that just sounded more mature and more adult, and like the melodies weren't as obvious, the arrangements were more complex. It was just very different. There's a funny quote that I read when I was researching the album that during one of these like sales meetings that they had, they had initially debated rejecting the album, but then they approved it. And after there was one of the meetings where Brian used a tape recorder and that had pre-recorded answers on it to address their concerns. So it's funny, like Brian being like, "Okay, I know what they're gonna say. I know what they're gonna complain about this, so I'm gonna just answer all their questions on
Oh
this
yeah, I think they
recorder."
did that in The American Family.
Oh, did they actually?
I think so, yeah. One of the few
Uh,
things they got right.
yeah. Well, another thing too, I think that kind of with this album was that the arrangements were so complex that they really couldn't replicate them in concert at the time. So a lot of this stuff wasn't played in concert until a decade later or so, like when the backing band started expanding in the 70s. So I think that might have also kind of screwed them over a bit, was that they just really couldn't replicate a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff in concert.
And if
Like
you
some of the
listen,
harmonies, right?
Well, not just the harmonies, just like how like
Well, yeah, I mean,
the
but
arrangement,
also the
yeah.
harmonies. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you listen to, I believe some of like the earliest recordings of "Wouldn't It Be Nice," like from the '60s, I don't even think they do like that. That section where it slows down and
Like
like you
yeah,
have,
you know,
yeah. I think
talk
they just
about it.
completely dropped that. They're like, we're not even going to bother with that. But then if you listen to the in concert album by the '70s, then they're doing it, and they're doing songs like "You Still Believe in Me" because the band was so tight around that time.
Caroline, no, yeah, they
Yeah,
were barely touching that stuff in the 60s.
right. Yeah, it
They
was just hard to do.
were
Yeah, even then they didn't even do all the songs. I think they only did like I'm Waiting for the Day like once or twice in the 70s and then
well that's
Don't Talk only came out a couple times in the '70s.
yeah, well yeah, I'm waiting for the day is tough to replicate live too because of all the tempo changes.
track
Um,
by track.
you want to move on to the track by track?
Sure. Opening up side one, wouldn't it be nice? There's not really a whole lot I can say about this song that hasn't already been said. It is one of the greatest pop songs ever written. It starts the album off with a bang. You kind of have that, like I've kind of described it as like almost like a carnival circus kind of intro, and then you have like the thump of the timpani, and then you get right into the wouldn't it be nice? Da, da, da. Lyrically, it's a great song about young love, yearning, just wanting to be with someone. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we can spend the night together. The harmonies are incredible. The chord changes are sublime. That slow down where it's like, it seems the more we talk about it. It's just incredible. Dennis has some really good like run, run, run. Like, he has like ad libs in there. Just an incredible song. And actually, this is one of the first songs I really fell in love with by the Beach Boys. Like, really, really fell in love with. I found it on of all things, a video of someone driving over the George Washington Bridge in New York. And then it was in King of the Hill. I'm a big King of the Hill fan,
Oh
and
yeah, I think it was with Bobby and that
Bobby when he fell in love with the Luann's like model that she was cutting hair first season. And this song is I been through used throughout popular culture. I know it's in that Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
all over the place. It's one of their most streamed songs on Spotify. It's just a masterpiece of a song. A little overplayed, I would say, a little overplayed, but still a phenomenal song and one I really really enjoy.
Yeah, I think this is it might be the best song on the album for me. Um yeah, we'll get to that take later. I think it encapsulates pretty much everything that's kind of gone right with this one or with the album. I mean, from that 12 string guitar opening, to the slow down part, just the general structure of it. It's so exciting. It kind of takes you on a trip almost. Not a drug trip, Mike. But it's just a gorgeous song, and it just makes me feel so happy and not nostalgic in a way that a lot of songs do, where they kind of make me feel sad that I'm kind of past some of those days. But I think this one kind of makes me very hopeful, and it's just a great song. And that part with a run, run, I always think of run, run, reindeer. Every time I hear that, I don't know if that was purposeful or not. I'm sure Nate could probably be like, "Oh yeah," and then you're not. But I think it's just a fabulous song, and it's a great opener. And I feel like what a lot of great openers do is kind of introduce you to what the whole album's going to be about, and this one does that perfectly. So
Yeah, pretty much everything you guys said. For me, this is like without a doubt one of the greatest songs of all time. Just incredible. The production is amazing. You've got like the wall of sound arrangement, like with the drums and the accordions playing together. And then, like Riley mentioned, you have that really cool, like kind of like dreamy sounding opening with the 12-string guitar, which I think didn't they plug it right into the
straight
mix
into the
board? Or,
interface.
yeah, right into the interface, which is pretty cool. Really cool sound there. I really love just the melodies, the bridge, with Mike with the maybe if we think and wish and hope and pray it might come true. Such a great vocal there. And yeah, like you guys said, I just love like, it's just it's a hopeful song, like the lyrics are very longing and there's a sense of melancholy in there. But really, when I listen to this, it's a song that always puts you in a happy mood. And yeah, it's just an amazing song. There's not much else to say about it.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
perfect way to open the album. So.
Not hard to see why this was a single, and it was a top 10 hit. Now
Top 10 hit.
in
Yeah.
the UK, it was the B side to the flip side of this in the States, which we'll get to that in a minute. And I was gonna say, yeah, we'll get to the melancholy. We'll get to the
yeah,
melancholy.
it's almost misleading. It's like I mean this song is very that's where I was kind of mentioning it's very forward thinking with like the sunshine pop kind of feel to it.
Yeah. And this
Compared
is
to a song like I Just Wasn't Made for These Times.
and this has been cited too as an influence on power pop too, because you have the very kind of uplifting sound and also but then also some melancholy underneath it. There's
Yeah.
that been cited by quite a few of those bands and artists as a major influence. So
Well, this album in general, I've seen arguments that this album, like every song, inspired some subgenre of pop
yeah,
music.
I think there's a case to be made for that.
Yeah.
So
All right, so moving on to the next track, we have "You Still Believe in Me." Now, this song opens with a really cool intro that Brian, I mentioned it earlier, but Brian kind of got it by having Tony Asher like pluck the strings as he hit them on the piano, so it kind of creates like that really cool sound. Also in the backing track, you can hear the bicycle horns on this one, which is pretty cool. Not something you'd expect really in music in general, let alone pop music. Um, so this is a song that is a little bit more melancholy. It's kind of saying like, I haven't always been the best. I haven't always treated you the best. I haven't always been the strongest, but you still believe in me. You still love me. And Brian sings it incredibly well. I will say the part that I think is the highlight for me is the "I wanna cry," like the outro,
yeah.
and the harmonies when they come in on the chorus, incredible. Just a really, really beautiful song. And I think for me, the highlights for me, other than like Brian's vocal, is just the backing track is so cool with everything going on in it.
Hmm. I don't think it's one of my favorites from the album. I like it a lot. I think it's I think I like a lot of the inventiveness, like we mentioned with the piano strings being plucked. I think it was with like a hairpin.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, and the bicycle horns, that and I especially love the I wanna cry. That part was gorgeous. So as much as there is like going for it, it's not one I really return to unless I'm listening to the album in full though. I don't think it's like has that kind of spunk to it where I can really listen to it on its own. But as is, it is very it's an incredible song. But I don't know if it's one that I really listen to again a lot. But still a very cool song.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in my top like three or top four tracks on the album, but it is one I will come back to on its own. I think it's a very beautiful song. Like Matt mentioned, you have that really cool opening with the plucked piano strings, very kind of like unique thing there. The fact that they thought of that, it gives it such a cool sound. Really cool backing track, like you mentioned too. You have like the harpsichord, the electric guitars, timpani, all sorts of stuff going on. Like you mentioned too, the bicycle bells. And yeah, again, this is one of those ones too where like you're really introduced to like kind of like the melancholy, the lyrics, where it's kind of about a guy that's questioning himself, and like Matt said, like a guy that knows he hasn't treated his girlfriend or his partner right, and like he's being very self-conscious and judgmental of himself, but despite all those flaws, like she still loves him. And you hear that in the lyrics. One of the lines that sticks up to me, every time we break up, you bring back your love to me. After all I've done to you, how can it be you still believe in me? Like, they're such simple lyrics, but like they work so well, to get that feeling across. And as you guys mentioned too, the outro is just beautiful. The I want to cry, like, man, that's so good. And the harmonies too, just such a cool song. So really like this one a lot. Like Riley said, I wouldn't put it like in my absolute top tracks on the album, but I listen to it on its own. I think it's really pretty. And the band did this very good live as well in the 70s on the In Concert album. So
There's an overarching theme of imposter syndrome on this album, which is
I think Brian definitely had that. I think
oh yeah.
yeah, right,
And as
right.
someone who does suffer from that, like me personally, I can relate to that a lot.
Oh yeah, big time. It sucks.
All right, next song, That's Not Me. So as I stated before, this is a song that kind of stands out on the album because this one primarily has the Wilson brothers doing a lot of the backing track. Dennis is drumming and Carl has his 12 string on there. This is a pretty cool song. Mike does a pretty cool vocal on this one. Now, this is a song kind of about, like moving away, becoming independent, but kind of also still feeling self-conscious. Like I wanted to show how independent I grow now, but that's not me. I could try to be big in the eyes of the world. What matters to me is what I could be to just one girl. And this is a song that I haven't really moved from home yet, but definitely something kind of in the back of my mind is like the worry of like what's going to happen when I kind of fly the nest. So it's one of those songs that like I haven't really experienced it yet, but I kind of can relate to it if that makes sense. That sounds weird. Um, I will say with this one, probably my favorite part of this song is like kind of like where like the backing track, you just kind of hear like the guitar and everything. That's probably my favorite part of this song. This has never been like one of my absolute favorites on the album, but I still think it's a really, really good track. And I do think that Mike gives a really, really good vocal on this one. I like when like Mike and Brian kind of have like their counterpart back and forth. Yeah.
Um, I enjoyed this one, but again, I think even less so than You Still Believe in Me. I don't really return this one a lot at all. Again, I listened to it in the context of the record. I think it fits, which I think is a good thing about this album. But I don't know. I don't really. And there isn't really a great hook in here for me. That's not me. It doesn't really like catch my ear. I think Mike does a good job on that vocal. Um, and I really like the bass on this one. I think it was Carol Kay who does the bass on this. I could be wrong. I know a lot of the band was on it, but I don't think Brian really played bass after like 64, 65. Um, it's cool, but I don't really return to it a lot.
Well, I personally really like this one quite a bit. I think it's one of the more underrated songs on the album, to be honest. I really I know, like you guys said, a lot of the album has more of these like lush arrangements, where this one's more of a stripped back sound. It's mainly kind of just carried by the organ. And then you have some guitar, some bass, and then some drums, which I believe are played by Dennis on this song. But I really like this one a lot. I really love Mike's lead vocal. Honestly, I think it's one of the best vocals of his entire career. I think he really delivers this one well. I think Matt mentioned this. Carl's 12 string on this is so good. I love when that 12 string comes in during the second verse, like the bow, 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 bow. Like it just like it totally fits like the mood and like the emotion of the lyrics in the song. So I really like that a lot. And again, very like relatable lyrics here. It's kind of about questioning your self identity and kind of looking at it like, are you okay with going through life alone? There's the line, I think Matt mentioned it, but that's not me. I could try to be big in the eyes of the world. What matters to me is what I could be to just one girl. So very, very nice track. And I think it's cool that this is kind of the exception on the album where like the band did play on it, which I think is pretty neat as well. So I think it's underrated. I know that it's surrounded by some songs that maybe overshadow it quite a bit, but this is one that again I do come back to on its own, and I just think it's a very, very pretty track. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, just looking at the credits right here. Thank you, Analog Productions. The string bass was done by Lyle Ritz. The electric bass was Carol Kay, and this does actually have some overdubs from Glenn Campbell on the 12 string.
I
So
thought I read that a while ago, and then somebody said, "Oh no, it doesn't." And now, okay, interesting.
that's what it says on here. So I trust this over whatever somebody on Reddit says. All right, the next track is "Don't Talk, Put Your Head on My Shoulder." This is a gorgeous song. Um, Absolutely beautiful. The backing track with the cellos and the violins and everything, just incredible. Um, Brian's vocal is out of this world. I think my favorite part is the bridge of like the listen, listen. Just incredible. And I think it's such a heartbreaking song, where it's just like you're telling this person, you know, you've been through so much, you've been hurt, but just put your head on my shoulder. I'm gonna take care of you. Don't worry about it. Just an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous track. Definitely one of my favorites on the album. Absolutely beautiful.
This is one I used to not care for as much. I always kind of appreciated it, but in the past year or so, especially since Jake really hyped it up, it might be one of my top three in the album. It's that good. Uh, it's very. I don't think there's a single happy moment in this song. I don't think there's a single like happy chord in this song. It's a very the backing track alone is just very sad, but
Hmm.
damn, this song is good. I really like those moments where there's no vocals going on too, especially just you hear the
Strings and
the
String
strings and stuff on their own, like the kind of like created space of like no vocals kind of add to the emotional like weight
and the
of it. Yeah, and Brian sings the hell out of it, so it's a very sad song, but man, it's good.
it's damn good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you guys know my thoughts on this one. This is just, it's just incredible. One of my favorite songs Brian ever wrote. One of my favorite songs ever by anybody. Just absolutely beautiful. The string arrangement is gorgeous. Really love Brian's vocal, like you guys mentioned. It's such an emotive vocal. Like totally gets across the feeling of the song. And like you guys said too, like like the lyrics, like the combination of the music, which has this very, like you said, Riley. I don't think there's really any like true like happy sounding part of this. It's a very melancholic sounding song, but it manages to be really beautiful. And the lyrics, are kind of about the power of like nonverbal communication. It's kind of just like, we don't need to talk about anything, just lay down next to me and put your head on my shoulder. And I think that's something that's very relatable to a lot of people. So beautiful song. And I think Riley mentioned this too. I really love the way the instruments are used on this, like the part where the vocals kind of cut out, and it's just like, the listen, 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 and then the strings, and then you get that timpani with the boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, which I've always kind of interpreted like a heartbeat, kind of going with the lyrics of the song, don't talk, close your eyes and then listen to my heartbeat, so beautiful song. And I also want to mention, I mentioned this before, but if you haven't heard it before, check out Brian's that demo that he did where he was singing the instrumental parts of the song for the session musicians. It's like so haunting, so ethereal to listen to. It's pretty much, and he didn't use it, on the actual recording, but you can hear it. And basically,
What's
he
it
made,
called, Jake? The demo?
yeah, he made it. Well, there's the demo where he's playing the piano, and then there's another one where he's just singing the individual like parts for for like the instruments, and he played that I think for the session musicians to give them an idea of the sound he was going for. But it's so haunting. It's such a cool thing to listen to. So yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite songs. I
Dude, isn't
listen.
it only like 2.5 minutes too?
It's not long.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
three
it's
minutes.
it's
Damn.
yeah,
Feels
yeah.
like it's like forever.
It's how long is it? Yeah,
Two
it's
minutes 59.
right under 3 minutes. I was gonna ask you, Jake, was this an instant click or was this one a
He
grower?
did this click pretty quick, man. I think maybe the first time I heard it, like I liked it. It wasn't like an instant like love, but like very quickly. It didn't take long for this to just become one of those ones I just come back to all the time. I guess the lyric I'll shout out. I've been shouting out a lyric from each of these songs. The lyric I'll go with from this one, being here with you feels so right. We could live forever tonight. Let's not think about tomorrow. I just think that's such a just it's so, again, simple. It's not pretentious in any way. It just gets the feeling across. And I think I mentioned this on a previous episode too, but I think you can almost interpret this too, with the sadness, kind of the sad sounding backing track. You can interpret the title, don't talk, put your head on my shoulder, as in like, we don't need to talk, like this is the last night we're together, just let's not fight, just put your head on my shoulder and let's just spend some time together, so I love this song. I just love it so much.
Yeah, man, it's that good.
Moving on, one of my favorite songs. I'm waiting for the day. Love this song. Absolutely love this song. First of all, the timpani intro. This is actually not Hal Blaine. That is who's doing the timpani on this? It is Gary Coleman. Just like it just starts off with a bang like boom, 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 and then the strings come in, just amazing. And then what I really love about this song is just the contrast, where it goes between soft and loud, and it does it very well. And the lyrics I think are really great too. Where this is a song where it's like I kind of see this as like kind of almost like a sister song to Let 'Em Run Wild, where it's like, you have like Brian kind of coming in, seeing this girl that's like, she's heartbroken, she's down in the dumps, and like, he's basically saying like, I'll take that away from you, or I'll take that like heartbreak away from you, and I'll get you through this, but I'm not rushing into it. I'll
Hmm.
wait for when you're ready, and then, we can try this out. Um, yeah, I just love how, like I said, like it kind of like, it's like you have like it's like the first verse is like kind of soft. Then you get to like, I kissed your lips and when your face looks and like it just like goes really upbeat. And then of course like the instrumental bridge is awesome. And then the choruses are more soft, and then you have the outro, the you didn't think, no, and that's just really awesome. I just love this song. I just love the backing track. I love Brian's vocal. I love the lyrics. I love the contrast between the sections. Just an amazing, amazing song. This is one of my favorite songs, not only on the album but in the catalog as a whole. I absolutely love this freaking song.
Yeah, this was an instant click for me. Like this, the first time I listened to it, it's so energetic. Like you mentioned, I didn't think, no, that was so cool. And yeah, that intro is very iconic. I think that's the moment I knew I liked the song was just based off the intro alone. And I really like that kind of goes down a little bit. I'm waiting for the day you can love again. And boom, boom,
And like
back
slows
to
it
note.
down a little bit.
This
Yeah.
is a excellent use of dynamics from the band and Brian. So one of my favorites off the album. I don't know exactly where I'd put it, but it is one I do come back to on its own. I really enjoy this one.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the highlights of side one for me, probably the whole album. I really love this song a lot. Like you guys said, like you got like the really heavy timpani opening with the boom, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. It's like such a powerful, immediately captures your attention. And then yeah, I love the way that the song kind of builds as it goes. By the time you get to the second verse, like it's so powerful and energetic. And I think as Matt mentioned too, you have some really vulnerable lyrics on this, and I do like you said, Matt, it's a guy being patient. He's waiting for this girl to, he knows this girl was hurt by her previous relationship and, she's trying to recover and heal. And he really wants to show her love, but he's going to let her take her time to heal, and then, like you said, Matt, we'll see where this goes. So I really love this song a lot. The outro is so cool. I love the way, like they have like the beautiful strings come in, like after the verse ends, and then you get the really catchy, you didn't think, no, that I could sit around and watch him go. Like, so good. So love this song a lot. It has so much energy, and I also really love the use of like the flutes during this as well. Like during the verse, like during the "He hurt you then," and in the background you got the flutes. Such so beautiful. So really great arrangement, and definitely one of the highlights of the album for me.
This
So
is a song that I think a lot of young men today could learn from. Because no, it has a really good message. It does. But yeah, the flutes are incredible.
do we know, is that Mike on the part during the verse after the part where they go and your face looks sad, and then there's
No, as
baby
far as
don't
I know,
you-"
this is all Brian.
Oh, is it? No, I meant the part where he goes, baby don't you know, that little part. I was wondering if that's
I think
That's definitely Mike.
that's gotta be
Baby,
baby.
don't you know?
Yeah.
the song. I'm waiting for the day. I'm looking up right now. Not I'm waiting for the man. That's another good song though.
That's another song.
That's another great song. Okay, I'm waiting for the day. Personnel. Oh yeah, it has Mike on the
Hey,
bass.
baby don't you know.
Yeah, it didn't say on the thing, so I wasn't sure. Like it does sound like Mike, but I know Brian could do a pretty good impression, so
Yeah.
all right. Moving right along, we have Let's Go Away for a While. So this is
Hmm.
the first of two instrumentals on the track. Definitely the my favorite of the two instrumentals. This is a really cool kind of like Bacharach-y kind of
Hmm.
lounge number. Um what I really like about this is like how it has like the two distinct sections. The first section kind of like is a little bit kind of like builds up, kind of like has some good like kind of like with the instruments and everything, and then you get like the dun 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 dun, like it's a little bit softer in the second half. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the two instrumentals was used in the show Mad Men for like an acid trip.
This one was used in Baby Driver.
This was in Baby Driver. You're right. Yes, I think that one might have been in. One of them was in. I don't remember which one was in Mad Men. Yeah, I really, really enjoy this track. I know I've kind of been a little dismissive of it in the past, but it has grown on me quite a bit. I would just say I don't, at least for me, I don't really listen to this one too much outside the context of the album. I do like it in the context of the record, but I don't really put it on in and of itself. But I do think it is one of the best instrumentals, if not the best instrumental in the Beach Boys catalog.
This might be like my favorite instrumental of all time. Uh,
Mhm.
you guys know I'm a sucker for instrumentals, especially
Yep,
if they're
the nearest faraway place.
except for that one. Especially if they have like a very interesting thing going on. I think this is a great example of how Brian's like music can, make you feel some sort of emotion without any actual lyrics or vocals for that matter. And it's just very gorgeous. It's very atmospheric. Like I can like imagine just listening to this song in the 60s, like late at night, kind of off the record player. It just has that atmosphere to it, and it's just very emotional track. It makes me feel nostalgic. I really like it. I don't know. I can't really describe it super well, but it might be my favorite song off the album. It's definitely in my top
Hmm.
three.
This would be really good as in like an elevator, like a really good, like just really smooth.
No, I disagree.
That would, I think Riley would suggest the nearest faraway place for an
No, I
elevator.
mean like in a good
Yeah.
way. Like it's like an elevator. Like I've seen people say like this could be like the elevator you take up to heaven. Like
Maybe that, but nearest far away, yeah, nearest far
not
away
like
place is
Muzak.
awesome.
No, not like Muzak elevator music. No, yeah, that's like nearest faraway place. Sorry, Nate.
Yeah, not even, yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that like I remember like the first time I heard it, I liked it, but over time it's become one that like I really really love. Like this is one I do come back to on its own now. I think it's just a really beautiful instrumental piece. I know Brian at one point considered to put lyrics on this, but I'm glad that he didn't. I think it works perfectly as an instrumental. Just a really beautiful arrangement. You got all the violins. I think there's saxophones on this, oboe. And then I believe for the guitar part, that like the barrel 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 barrel, which is my favorite part of the song, by the way. I think they used a Coca-Cola bottle for that, which is very interesting. But yeah, just an absolutely beautiful song. Like you guys said, it's like very like it like takes you somewhere when you're listening to it. Like you can picture yourself like being like going back to the 60s or floating or just whatever. It's just a really beautiful song, and I really love the outro too, where like you have the timpani with the bump and ump and the horns. I think that's really pretty too. So definitely one of my favorite instrumentals from the band. It's probably top two for me of their instrumentals. I don't know. It might be my number one, honestly. I just think it's really pretty, and it's easily my favorite of the two instrumentals on this album. So I
Now, if
really
you want to learn how to float, just go see the Maharishi.
Play this to the Maharishi, you'll float. What's the other one of the top two? Is it Summer Means New Love?
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
All right. The final song on side one is Sloop John B. Now, this is an old folk song. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Al who
Yeah.
brought this up because he knew it from
Yeah.
the Kingston Trio.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. So Brian really kind of did an interesting take on this. It doesn't really sound like too much. It doesn't sound too folky anymore. It still has it, but it doesn't sound like what I would imagine like a folk like trio song sound like. Um, it almost sounds kind of like a little exotic in parts. I think like with like the intro, whatever that instrument is, and then the drums are really pounding in this song. I think Hal Blaine did a good job on that. And I know that there's that line, "This is the worst trip I've ever been on," which is a double entendre because like obviously like they're on a trip because it's about a boat, but it's also like an acid trip. I would say,
Mike, uh-oh.
uh-oh, right,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
No,
Mike,
no, no,
Mike
no, 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 no. Don't worry, Mike. We were talking about a boat.
It's like, okay, I like boats.
All right, boats. Like
We,
Kokomo.
yeah.
yeah,
I
Mike,
like,
Mike and Brian both do a really good job on this track. I would also say another highlight for me is like where you can kind of hear Dennis go like "Hoist up the John B. Sail." Like you can kind of hear his backing vocals there. A backing vocals in this is really incredible. And yeah, it's a really, really good track. If I'm being honest, I've always kind of struggled whether or not this should be on the album. Because I do think it's a really good song. And obviously it was a big hit. I know it was used in Forrest Gump, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't know if thematically, for me, it really fits on the album. Like I kind of seen like arguments, I'm sure we'll have some debate on that. I do really like the track. I think it is a really, catchy, great song, but I just don't know if it really fits on the album. But I still like the track. It's here,
Yeah, I like it on Pet Sounds. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. It's just a really well done cover. It's I would argue that he changed so much of the song that's not even really much of a cover anymore. Like
That's
there's some like a lot of artists who have covered, some of these like folk songs, these very traditional arrangement songs, that go so far back they don't even really know the real songwriter. But like this is so different from like any of those in terms of being a cover that it really is its own thing. Like it was a Beach Boys hit. I think if you mention the word Soup John B, no one's gonna associate it with the folk song.
except that.
Except except Al. Yeah, except Al.
yeah.
Funnily enough, one of the first recordings that he ever did was with his band called the Tikis, was Sloop John B. And the person he went to for help arranging it was Brian. So think about it, like 5 years later, Al's like, "Can we please do Sloop John B?" And Brian's like, "Yeah, sure, but you're not gonna sing it. I'm gonna sing it."
Him
If
and
I was
yeah.
Al, I would be so pissed. Um, like dude was put to backing vocals on his own favorite song. But dude, it's just so good. Like there's like from the guitar riff. I think there's two different guitar riffs going on at once. Actually, I think one is doing one line, and one's doing a different. It's just so cool. It's fun, and as first placements on the album, I know it's then thematically it doesn't necessarily fit, but I think for the "This Is the Worst Trip I've Ever Been On" part alone kind of helps it fit the themes, I guess. But I don't know. This is one of the songs I think of when I think of Pet Sounds. So even though it's not one of my favorites on the album, it is one I come back to a lot, and I do think it deserves its own spot on the album. Plus, it closes out the side, so it's not like Cassius Love versus Sonny Wilson, where it's just like dead in the middle of the track listing.
No, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, this is one of those songs that like I think just really showcases Brian's talent as like a an arranger, a producer. The fact he took this song that like let's face it, it's a very primitive sounding. If you listen to the Kingston Trio version, it's like a very bare bones kind of recording, and transformed it into this like really lush piece with all of these instruments and really incredible vocals from the guys. It's just really well done, very impressive song. In terms of does it belong here, I can see the case for it in the fact that like okay they changed the lyric with the because I don't think it was originally the original line was not "This is the worst trip I've ever been on." I think they added that in, but there's that, and then there's also well, why won't they let me go home? You could also say that as well. Personally, I'm kind of with you, Matt. I don't think it necessarily fits in with the rest of the material on here, especially you look at the stuff that precedes it with "Let's Go Away for a While" and "That's Not Me" and "You Still Believe in Me." Like those songs are so like emotionally vulnerable, and then it's like "Hoist Up the John B. Sails." Like I don't know, it's just like it does feel a bit out of place. Musically, it totally fits in terms of like the arrangement, the production, like totally like just the instruments being used. The wrecking crew's all over this, obviously. So in that regard, I have no issue with it. Thematically, yeah, I'd probably lean towards it doesn't necessarily fit. That said, though, I do think it's sequenced fine where it's at as the end of the side. I'm really glad this isn't before like "Let's Go Away for a While." That would probably annoy me a bit. But yeah, I think it's fine. Has its fine place on the album, and I do think it's a very very good recording. This is one that whenever I hear it, I'm just like, wow, this is just really cool. So
Yeah, I think you put it really well where it's like you're right, like backing track wise, production wise it fits in. And it's something that like while like you could debate whether or not thematically it fits in, I don't have a problem with it being on the record. This is
yeah,
not a case of something that they threw on there. There are many examples like I think they threw something on there and it's like why the hell is this even on here? This I don't have a problem with it being on there.
started out with Berkeley free speech, and later on at People's Park,
Shut
Pen is
up.
mightier than the sword
but no
But
match.
no match for a
or a
gun.
gun. All right. Flipping over the record, we have God Only Knows. Now, this is another song that much has been written about. I think it's one of the greatest songs ever written, period. This is a song that really kind of has been said to have reinvented the love song in a way. I know, first of all, just the use of God in the title and the God in the lyrics is like the story goes that like at the time, like only really time you could use that in a song was like God Bless America and Kate Smith singing it. So like Brian even doing that in the first place was seen as like, oh wow. And then you have a song that opens with I may not always love you. Like what kind of love song can you think of that like opens with something like that? So really like you kind of have him kind of turning the love song tropes on their head with this one. The story goes that him and Tony Asher wrote this in like 45 minutes or something insane like that, which is just mind-blowing to me because like this is like fucking incredible. Like you wrote this in 45 minutes, holy shit. Um, the backing track is absolutely out of this world. It is absolutely gorgeous. You have sleigh bells in there, you have plastic orange juice cups in there, French horn, accordion, harpsichord, just absolutely beautiful. It's just like I could listen to it myself, just the backing track, and just almost be in tears. It's just so gorgeous. And then you have Carl, who was only 19 years old at the time, singing this song, giving, in my opinion, one of the best vocals in popular music history. Absolutely beautiful. This is for me really the first Carl vocal that I think he really kind of came into his own. I think that the vocal on Girl Don't Tell Me is great, but
Hmm.
this is just otherworldly. I mean, seriously, he sang the fucking hell out of this song. I think Brian really, really did something. I think giving it to Carl was the best call. I think that it's just he just sang it so well. And then I love like the boom, 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 like that little bridge where it's like kind of like the instrumental, and then the whoo ba 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 ba, like that backing track section is gorgeous. And then the perpetual rounds at the end, the God only knows, where it's just Carl, Brian, and Bruce, and God only knows what
God only
God
knows
only
what I'll
knows.
be
God
without.
only knows. Like it's just really incredible. I love this song. This is on some days my favorite Beach Boys song. I know it's a cliche to say that. I don't care. I think it's just a gorgeous track. It is the perfect one of what I would consider a candidate for the perfect pop song. I can see why this was a huge hit in the UK. It is absolutely gorgeous. And Paul McCartney has said it's the greatest song ever written.
It's all right. Um, it's on a some sort of objective level, I think it's one of the best written songs of all time. It's very dynamic in the right places. It's very melodic in the right places. It's sad in the right places. It's almost perfectly arranged. I don't think there's a single thing I would change about it. But I don't think it's my favorite off the album. I don't think it's not in my top 20 favorite Beach Boys songs. I don't know. I feel bad saying it because yeah, it's objectively like really well written. Like there's not much you can really change about it. Maybe it's the overexposure. Maybe it's the fact that everybody always says this is the greatest song ever written. I've just kind of had enough of God Only Knows. It's if anybody's covering the Beach Boys, it has to be God Only Knows. It can't be anything else. Um, Jake, don't mention. We'll talk about that after when the episode's over. Because God, do I have some thoughts about that? But I don't know, man. I've heard it too much. I don't feel a lot when I listen to it anymore. Um, it's just kind of everywhere, and I think it almost overshadows damn near everything else that not just Brian but the whole band has done. Like if anybody's mentioning the Beach Boys, it's this one or Good Vibrations, but it's usually this one.
Or
And
is this kind of like the Wonderwall of the Beach Boys, where it's like kind of
I
overshadowed?
would say, yeah. Wonderwall is a song. I love that song, but it's so overplayed. Or not even. It's not even overplayed anymore. Actually, that's a different case. But yeah, you could make that argument. I don't know. I've just kind of I've almost heard enough about it. Like I get the hype. I agree with the hype. I understand the hype. If you told me this is your favorite Beach Boys song, I would not argue because I would say you'd have great taste. But for me, I've heard this one a lot. I think Carl sings the hell out of it. I think it's arranged perfectly. Like there's the spots without the vocals matter as much as the spots with the vocals. Everything serves a purpose in it, but I've heard it way too many times. I've seen countless, clips on the internet of people
Like
doing their rendition. Oh, it gets so tiring. I'm so sick of seeing somebody is trying to act all like cool, like they kind of pretend they like the band, so they just do some random cover of God Only Knows. And it's just like, okay, that's cool. I've seen about 13 other people today do it. Um, so I don't know. I love the song and I love what it means. And I think especially for its time, like you said, Matt, it really turns the love song 180. Um, and it's so gorgeous, but I'm kind of sick of it.
Well, I was gonna say, and I'm not gonna name names, but there have been people have turned this into a Christmas song, and that just is ridiculous. That's like turning Hallelujah, the Leonard Cohen song, into a Christmas song. How the hell is that a Christmas song? Seriously? Did anybody even
Song
like
has sleigh bells. It must be Christmas.
exactly? This has sleigh bells, it must be Christmas. That says Hallelujah, and it must be Christmas, even though, she tied you to the kitchen chair, she broke your throne, and she cut your hair. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew. How is that a Christmas song? It's about lust.
Yeah, I don't know, but before I get, like crucified, it is a great song. Like I've said, it's so perfectly written. You can't really change anything about it. Even Bruce has a spot in this song, believe it or not. Um, we all know how I feel about him, in his singing voice. Uh, I don't know, man. I've heard it too many times. It's kind of like Stairway. Like you see objectively one of the best songs ever written, especially in its time. But you've just heard it too many times. If I see another person on fucking TikTok or Instagram doing a cover of God Only Knows, I'm gonna like find them and just like take them out back. So sick of it, dude. I'm so sick of it.
I mean,
And then it gets reposted. Oh,
like I said, when you explain it like that, I totally get what you're saying. I don't think you're gonna get like crucified for it.
yeah. Oh, I probably will
Well,
though.
you probably will, but like I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you're right, because this has become like the song that's like, I don't know the Beach Boys. Let's play it for the first time. Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Like the people that make
I mean,
those,
yeah, it is, but like
like,
we
you're
we
right.
know. We
Well,
know.
I think, well, first off, I'll just say I do understand where Riley's coming from. I can confirm, as somebody that is also on social platforms and is, sees a lot of these like Beach Boys accounts sharing stuff, like, yeah, this is the song that like a lot of these musicians and people that probably aren't even that knowledgeable about the
Not into the
Beach Boys,
band.
they're just like, yeah, I covered God Only Knows. Um, that said, though, it's still one of my favorite songs of all time. I think it's just an incredible song. Everything about it I love. Like you said, I wouldn't change a thing about it. The lyrics are so moving. Like you said, Matt, that opening line, I may not always love you. As long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. Like, it's just so beautifully written. Carl's vocal is just incredible. One of the best vocals of his career. The fact that this guy was like 19 years old, 20 years old when he did this vocal is just like incredible. And just, yeah, the arrangement with the harpsichord, the sleigh bells, and, you got like the wood block and then the strings too. It's just so beautifully arranged. And then, like Matt mentioned too, you got the instrumental break with the bow, 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 dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's just an incredible track. And as Riley mentioned too, the outro, with the back and forth vocals of Bruce with the God only knows what I'd be. Like, it's just so well done. Yeah, I've said for a long time this is my favorite song of all time. For now, I'm gonna say it's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's definitely in my top five. I feel like I'm a little less confident now in saying it's my all-time favorite, but it's definitely up there. And every time that I hear this song live, whether it's Mike Span doing it or Al doing it or when I saw Brian doing it, I get chills every time. And it's the one song by any band really that I experienced that with. Where like as soon as I hear the song start, I just get chills. And once the vocal comes in, it's just like, man, like this is God only knows. So yeah, I love it. It's so beautiful, and it deserves all the praise that it gets for sure. I just wish, like Riley said, it would be nice to see some
Wouldn't
artists
it be
venture
nice?
out a little. And I will say, Matt made the point too. Okay, would you prefer them doing just Surfing USA, or would you prefer them doing God Only Knows?
I prefer them to do Mona or
Well, let's not ask too much here. I mean, they're
dude, there's a
how about
lot of
like
songs that they could cover. They don't have to do Surfing USA. Honestly, I kind of like if they did Surfing USA. I don't think I see that one like covered much, like period.
yeah,
I saw one for I Do Love You though the other day. That was sick.
yeah.
I
But
will.
I think you look at a band like with the Beatles. There's a lot of songs that like people really love. You got A Day in the Life and so many. But there's enough where it's like it doesn't really necessarily get super repetitive. Or like with the Beach Boys, it does seem like this is the one that everybody centers on. I think it's because Paul McCartney has literally cited it as his favorite song about one of his favorite songs of all time. A
Yeah,
lot
that's
of
one of the things I see. It's like when they mention this, they don't even mention like Brian. They're like, "Oh, Paul McCartney said it was his favorite song of all time." It's like,
Yeah, like that's I feel like that's almost how my dad knows it. And my dad like likes the song, but I feel like if I mention it to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I know that's a good one." Paul said that's his favorite song of all time.
yeah, it's a lot of these people who are online that like the influencers, I guess. They like the Beatles, they like Fleetwood Mac. I mean, that's kind of the only bands they really talk about. And they're like, well, okay, if Paul McCartney mentioned this, then I have to do something with it. And then like, dude, there's so many songs out there. I mean, like, dude, I'm not a big fan of him, but I mean, at least Jacob, whatever the fuck his last name is, covered "Keep an Eye on Summer." I mean, I thought it was pretty dog
Pick.
shit.
It's an interesting pick.
So it sucked, but like, dude, it's a great pick of a song. Like, there's some good songs out there. I think I saw somebody do one for like "Going On" one time. Like, that's the kind of shit I want to see.
Yes, I remember that. I saw
Do
that
I
too.
even want to hear this cover of Keep an Eye
No,
on the
you don't. You
You don't.
don't.
You
I,
don't.
I was
It's
gonna
like
say
the most. It's like honestly, dude, it would have the same effect if like a Facebook mom covered it. It was just
that at least would be
that's how
entertaining.
I would describe it. It's so corny and like it's like fifth grade girl with ukulele level kind of good. It's like
I hate his voice on it so much.
yeah, that's it's like Bruce Johnson's voice on steroids.
Well, it's
Uh,
not high. It's more like low. It's like we said goodbye. It's like, ugh.
I don't know, but with the mannerisms though, it's
Oh, I know. That's so, God.
yeah. But
But yeah,
the
that
sentiment's there, and it's like that's a great choice. You could tell he's probably a fan too. So like, dude, there's so many
it,
other songs out there. I don't know. God only knows. It's too good for its own well-being for me. That's kind of it.
I will also say too one last thing. Nobody ever has done this song like Carl did. You know, you can listen to any recording of Carl, whether it's from the '70s, the '80s. You know,
He was
up to
dying.
up
He
to
was
There's
dying.
there's
up
some
to
people
when
that
he's
that
dying.
that
Yeah.
are good, but they are not Carl good.
I just
It's
want to say two things before we wrap this up. First of all, I'm forever mad that that stupid Summer Dreams movie shows Mike singing on this. They couldn't even get basic shit right. That stupid movie.
When did they show
God only
when
knows
did
what
they show him
I'll
singing?
be without you.
The ba 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 ba.
Okay, you know what? To be fair, they should have did their research. But when I first got into the band, I always assumed that was Mike too. So,
The other thing I want to say, Riley, you forgot the other band that all these basic influences are like, and that's Queen. That's another one too. That's
I
like,
didn't forget them. I just didn't want to
oh,
talk
oh,
about
he knows. Riley knows. You don't need to.
no, I know it's like yeah, you're right though. It seems to be Beatles, Queen, Fleetwood Mac. Next is I know there's an answer. This originally was entitled "Hang On to Your Ego."
No, change those lyrics.
So this is
it.
not
Drugs, Brian.
this is not a Terry Melcher or not Terry Melcher. I'm sorry. This is not a Tony Asher co-write. This is a Terry Sacken co-write who was the band's road manager. Now, this was around the time that Timothy Leary had come into the like when the first draft of the song was written. This is around the time that Timothy Leary came into the public consciousness and started advocating for like LSD and all that jazz. And the original version of the song was kind of like basically saying like, these people are doing all these drugs and they're like losing like sense of themselves and they need to hang on to their egos. Mike didn't like that. He said, "I'm not singing this." So he rewrote it as "I Know There's an Answer." Um, this song I've always been kind of about. Parts of it I like. I like some of the backing track and like how like the fuzzy bass and stuff like that in it, and like some of the like the saxes and stuff. But lyrically, it's never done a whole lot for me. I just don't really like connect with it as much as some of the other songs on here. I think it's fine in the context of the record. I would almost never choose to put this on by itself. I do also like how Brian, Mike, and Al are splitting lead duties. That's kind of cool. But I just don't really get the emotional impact on this song compared to a lot of the other songs. Both, I mean, like just two or three other songs that are on this side alone that are about to come up. So it's fine, but it's probably my least favorite vocal song on the album.
I really like this one. The backing track is really cool. I like the little piano part at the beginning of the song. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if it's piano exactly, but you know what I mean, the dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think Mike actually does a pretty killer vocal on this one. And I'm a big fan of the saxes. Dun, 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 dun,
That's
dun,
for
dun, dun.
sure.
And I love the way it goes right back into and why don't you come on? Doo, doo, doo. That's I think it's just a really cool song. I don't come back to it unless it's in the context of the album, but in terms of ones where I do only listen to them in the context of the album. I think this one might be my favorite. It's just a really cool song. I actually think I prefer this over "Hang On to Your Ego." I know that a
Yeah,
lot of
Yeah.
hardcore Brian
yeah.
heads will prefer when they with it, their own fan mix of the album will remove this just to have the original version. But I think that I know there's an answer fits much more with the concepts of this album. So
Hang on to your ego almost feels like a little too
On
like
the nose, on the
on
nose.
the nose and like almost like you're kind of like it just doesn't really fit in with like what was going on in the rock scene at that time. It
Right.
almost was like hypocritical. But yeah, no,
very hypocritical of the series.
I think I know there's an answer is definitely better. I agree. Mike was right to redo this one.
Yeah, so this is one where I used to lean more towards Matt. I was kind of like, it's there. Like I like parts of it, but I'll be honest, lately, like and when I say lately, I mean within like the past month or so, this one has grown on me quite a bit. I honestly would say I really like it now. Um, I just really like the songwriting on this. I really like the verse melody and the way it kind of like jumps back and forth, like the and da 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 da. Like it's just like I think it sounds really cool. That chorus is really memorable. The I know there's an answer. I know now, but I had to find it by myself. I just think it's yeah, with that, just really great vocals from Mike and Al and Brian on this. And yeah, I know, like you guys said originally, this had different lyrics with "Hang On to Your Ego," but I totally agree. I think that like listening to that one, it almost like just sounds like wrong to me. I'm just like, it's like "Hang On to Your Ego." I'm like, ugh. But like when I hear this one, I'm like, yes, this is how the song's supposed to sound. So yeah, I really like this song quite a bit. It's not a highlight of the album. It's definitely in my bottom half of the tracks on here. And it is, I mean, if I were to rank them, it would be towards the bottom of like the tracks with vocals, but definitely has grown on me a lot. Like I'd say this went from like a maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 for me to like a solid maybe 8, I would say. So I like it quite a bit.
Oh, I
Riley,
think
I
it's
do, and I
no.
do really like that raw sax sound too, like the that's
The
pretty
sa the sax is the highlight for me easily.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Here today. This song I think is a really great song. This for me might be the best Mike vocal ever. He kills this song. Um, this is, a great song about like, where someone who like lost their love. It's like you have it here, it's here today, but it can be gone like that. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite line, well, I hate to be a downer, but I'm the guy she left before you found her. Well, I'm not saying you won't have a good love with her, but I keep on remembering things like they were. Um, just really incredible. And then I love the way Mike sings that she made me feel so bad. And she like you just feel the emotion and the pain in his voice. The backing track is really cool when the harmonies come in, like the love is here today and it's gone. Chorus is great, great melody. Um, the bass is really prominent on this one too, which is really cool. And then I love like that like kind of breakdown, like where it's like the doon doon doo 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 doo, and like you just like have like that instrumental break. And then I know that you can kind of hear like chattering on the mono mix. I know they mix that out for the stereo mix, but you kind of hear like studio chatter, which is kind of cool. I don't mind it too much. Some people might be like, "Oh, it kind of is not perfect," but that makes the song more human. I really love this song. This has always been a highlight for me. I just, like I said, Mike's vocal is just out of this world, and I just think the lyrics are really relatable, and the backing track is killer.
Jake, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. This is one where kind of like the previous track, I know there's an answer. Like I remember like a couple years ago, like this one, I liked it. It was there, but it wasn't something I necessarily revisit often. But this one, I'd say over the past year, like this one has really, really grown on me, even more than I know there's an answer. I think, like you said, Matt, this is one of Mike's best vocals. I think he has so much like emotion in his delivery, like you said, too, very relatable lyrics, kind of like, warning somebody like, hey, I was with her and I know how this ends, so it's like, be careful because like you said, Matt, it can be gone so fast. It can just end, and as somebody that's, been there, I definitely relate with the lyrics on this. So very, very cool song. I really love the way Mike's vocal ascends too. Yeah, like with the da 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 da, and then you've got like I think it's that like the bass going down like the
The bass
really
is very prominent on
yeah,
this.
real. It sounds so cool, like the way that Brian arranged that. So yeah, this has been a huge grower for me. And a lot of it for me is really it's Mike's vocal and the lyrics. Such a really nice song. So
Yeah, this is one pretty similar to Jake. It wasn't until like a year ago that I actually really started listening to this one a lot. I just think it has a lot of energy to it, and I think Mike's vocal adds a lot to it. The makes you feel so bad. Days and you're here. That part's really cool. I like a lot of the use of dynamics in this one a lot. And the bass sounds really cool in this one. Just a big fan of this one. Definitely want to come back to. I'd probably put it in middle of the pack in terms of rankings, but I do listen to this on its own, so I do really like it.
I don't think either of you guys mentioned it, but I love the part where it's like the vocal cuts out and it's just like the instrumental. You know, you have
That's
that
like my favorite part of the entire
with
song.
the dun 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 dun, and then you've got the down 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 down. I really like that. It's so cool, so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is I Just Wasn't Made for These Times. If I had to choose one song, like the title can sum up like Brian Wilson's life, it's this. Um, I find this song very relatable.
Mm.
Especially as someone who I've always kind of felt like a bit of an outsider. Like I've always kind of felt like a bit of an old soul. Just like I was born in this generation. I don't want to sound like oh like the wrong generation,
I
like
was born in the wrong generation.
like I was born in the wrong generation, but I just kind of feel
As you type it on your iPad.
if you type it on your iPad, yeah, I don't want to go that far and sound like a dumbass, but like I do feel like sometimes like I can relate to like, older people I talk to in my life and like I feel like a bit of an old soul and like things like, I keep looking for a place to fit in where I can speak my mind. I've been trying hard to find the people that I won't leave behind. Each time things start to happen again, I think I got something good going for myself, but what goes wrong? Sometimes I feel very sad. I mean, it's just such a relatable song. Brian sings it so well. And then the backing track with like the harpsichord and the piccolos and of course the electrotheremin coming in just kind of like adds a bit of it just makes the song sound even more haunting. Um Supposedly I think I've read that Dennis was supposed to sing this, um but he ended up not doing it. I don't know if that's true or not. I think I read that somewhere, but I don't know. Regardless, Brian sings it very well. And I think my favorite part is like the where it's like just like where it's like sometimes I feel very sad. Sometimes it just like builds up in the chorus. Um and yeah, it's just a really, really haunting song. Very, very melancholic song. And I know that this song title was actually used for a documentary about Brian
Yep.
Wilson.
Like,
Don Was
yeah.
directed
Yeah.
it. Um, yeah, it's just a really, really haunting track.
Uh, this is one I'm kind of I don't really know. I'm gonna get crucified. It's not a favorite of mine. I do like the song. I especially like the sometimes I feel very sad part. I find myself like thinking that okay, that's like one of the hooks that I really sticks with me. Like I'll just be doing random shit like during the day, and it'll just like randomly pop into my head. Sometimes I feel very sad. I think that part's awesome. And I don't know. I just feel like this is a very on the nose song, like we're talking about with "Hang On to Your Ego." It's kind of like very. The lyrics on this one are a little too simple for me, compared to like any of the other ones on the album. A little too like on the nose and like in your face. And it doesn't help, but I feel like a lot of like the very hardcore Brian fans really like this one. Like this is one they say that's like on like par with like Pet Sounds, not Pet Sounds, God Only Knows, and they like always mention this one. And like Brian's my favorite member of the band, and he's like one of my favorite musicians, just period. And I love damn near everything he's done, but I don't know. I think this one's just a little too on the nose. Um, that being said, though, the chorus, the hook on that one, it's very memorable. One of the best hooks he's done. But the rest of the song, I don't know. I don't really care for it. It's fine. I like it in the context of the record, but this is probably it might be my least favorite on the album.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, I don't,
I'm getting if I'm not getting crucified for God Only Knows, I am getting crucified for this.
I don't know if I'd say it's on par with God Only Knows. Like that's a little,
I've
that's
seen a lot of people just really love this one. Again, they're very big Brian fans, so they kind of love everything he's done, and I pretty much love everything that he's put out. There's a couple I don't really like, but it's they hype this one up a lot, and I don't know. I don't really see the hype on this one. It's cool. I like the again. I think everything on this album is like 7 out of 10 or higher. So I don't think it's like a bad song. It's just like this one's just pretty all right. Like it's inventive with its arrangement and that hook of sometimes I feel very sad is awesome, but the rest I don't know. I don't think it's like one of the best on the album, and it might be the one I learned listen to the least. Even like with like That's Not Me and like that You Still Believe in Me and I Know There's an Answer. Like there, I can listen to the whole thing and like get the hype. This one, I don't know the verses. I don't really listen to that. It's not a favorite. Might be my least favorite on the album. I don't really listen to it a lot unless I kind of have to. All right, Jake, I bet this is one of your favorites, isn't it?
I freaking love it. Yeah, I think it's great. One of the highlights on here for me for sure. I will say, the first time I ever heard it, this was definitely one of those ones that like did not click right away. This definitely took multiple listens to really click, but once it did, man, I freaking loved it. Like Matt said, I totally relate with the lyrics on this. For me, they're not. For me, the fact that they are so simple is honestly what makes them work for me. They're not pretentious. They're not trying to do some like wordplay to try to get a point across. They're just very just honest and vulnerable. And like Matt said, I kind of have the same feelings sometimes, where it's just like I feel like I don't relate with a lot of people my age, and I'm kind of just like, I mean, you look at the lyrics of this song. They say I got brains, but they ain't doing me no good. I wish they could. Each time things start to happen again, I think I've got something good going for myself. What goes wrong? Like I can relate with those every one of those words. So yeah, I think it's a great song. I think musically it's really inventive. I love like how it's very like unpredictable the way it shifts through the verses. It starts out with the, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden you get they say I got brains, but they ain't doing me no good. And then you get that awesome chorus, which I love that part too, Riley. The sometimes I feel very sad. Such a great hook there. And I love the way too the flute comes in after that, like with the da, na, 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 na. It's like such a perfect response to
I
that.
do like that flute part. That part is
It's like it perfectly fits like the sadness of like that line. So I really love this song a lot. The electro theremin on this sounds so cool. I think that was one of the things that did really get my attention the first time I heard this was when all of a sudden you get that really trippy sounding like do 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 do, and it's cool because I think the guy that invented the electro theremin plays it on this too because I think he maybe had like the only one. So the Beach Boys used it on this recording, but yeah, I really love this one. Great vocal from Brian. I'm glad that Brian did end up singing this one and not somebody else. And I also want to mention, I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but I love the outro on this too. Like
Yeah,
with
the outro is really
those
cool.
really high backing vocals with Brian just repeating, I just wasn't made for these times. It's so good. So yeah, this is a big favorite of mine. In terms of like, is it on the same level of God Only Knows? Nah, probably not quite for me, but it's borderline top 10 for me. So when we get to our top 10 songs, we'll see if it makes the cut, but it's around there. So
Yeah.
All right. So next is the title track and the second of two instrumentals, Pet Sounds. Now, this song was originally titled Run James Run because Brian wanted to use this as a theme to a James Bond film. This song has been said like it kind of has like an exotica
yeah.
tropical feel to it. It's been compared to the works of Les Baxter, Martin Denny, and also Henry Mancini. I can definitely hear Henry Mancini, especially if you're used to like the Pink Panther theme and stuff like that. It's got some cool instruments. We have Coke cans again. You got the guitar going through the Leslie speaker. You got bongos on there. It's very Latin-y. I know I mentioned that before. I'd like it fine in the context of the record. I would never choose to put this on by itself. Yeah, like I said, I like it fine in the context of the record, but I would never choose to put it on by itself. Definitely my least favorite on the album.
That's where we're flipping because I actually really like this one a lot. I like that the guitar is kind of in place of vocals. Kind of has like a vocal line delivery to the guitar playing. I think the use of dynamics on this one are really smart. Like I can really see why he meant for this to be a James Bond theme because it really builds intensity in a lot of the parts. The dun, 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 dun. And then once it goes back to the little bridge section in the middle, and then it goes back to like that main theme. Oh my God, this song is awesome. Um, I don't think it's Let's Go Away for a while levels because it doesn't really bring out a lot of like, emotion from me, but dude, I just really love this one. Um, I think it's a great use of dynamics, and it gets me energetic, and I think it's perfectly placed right before Caroline now. So
Yeah, I think you know my opinion on this one, Riley. I will say it's grown on me over time for sure. Like it went from a song that like I didn't get it at all to like now I can see the appeal of it. I can see why you like it. Um, I do like the sound of the guitar on it. I think it has a really cool like tone to it. And it does have like totally like that James Bond vibe totally there with this one. So I totally hear that. But for me, yeah, this is one where like it just doesn't have the same like emotional like feeling as most of the rest of the album has. Like it's just kind of like it's this cool sounding instrumental, but like it just doesn't make me really feel anything when I listen to it, like in the way that Let's Go Away for a While does. So honestly, like I'll admit, like this is the one song in the album I don't listen to on its own. I in the album it's fine, but like by itself, I'm with Matt. I just would not really choose to put this on. But it's a cool arrangement. I can see the appeal of it, and it's definitely a unique track in their discography. Like they don't have a lot of instrumentals that really sound like this. This is very kind of unique, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. So it's pretty
those
much
little saxophone undertones, though, like that are
I mean,
that's
it
cool. Oh,
definitely,
I like that too. Yeah, that's
you know,
cool.
it like I said, it's grown on me quite a bit too. It's just like I don't know, it almost feels like I'm listening to something from like a Henry Mancini soundtrack. Like I can definitely hear it, like I can see where people say it sounds like Henry Mancini, but it's not what I would expect from the Beach Boys.
I will say I think in between Caroline No and I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, I think it is a good spot where it's at because I almost feel like those two back to back, it's kind of just like ballad. You know, where like with this, it's like, okay, you get this cool instrumental.
changes
Like,
the flow really well. It adds a
yeah.
little.
It works good as a segue between the two because, like, I think otherwise, now that's actually a good point you bring up because, like, otherwise, I think it'd be a little too heavy because you have like heavy, heavy, heavy. Like here today, I just was made for this times Carolina,
Yeah, it's
but
like,
having that there is like I said, you kind of have
It
that
makes
like
it
breezy James
kind of like
Bond, Henry Mancini, Latin thing.
it reminds me of Smile with the way that it. I had to throw it out there. I had to.
in honor of Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, in honor of Nate. But it and it kind of does. I really like albums that have like not necessarily segues, but almost like themes and like things that can make it flow really well from one track to another that make it very seamless. And if we just had oh, hold on, let me look at the track list. If we had I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, and then maybe they substitute this one with like another like ballad and stuff, it would just kind of the flow would be lost. And it kind of makes it thematic, and it fits as like like an overture before the final song on the record. It fits really well. I
Yeah, I
like
think as a transition piece, it works fine. And yeah, because it's like you think of if those, let's say I Just Wasn't Made for These Times was like back to back with Caroline L, it would be like, some,
that's
it would be
depressing.
like,
That's
it
like
would be
Till
like,
I Die and Surf's Up.
yeah, you'd go from like sometimes I feel really sad to where did her long hair go? Like it's just like
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well, also too, I mean, I would say this when I was in chorus, and every time I said segue, people thought I was talking about the stupid scooter thing. Like they didn't know that was actually a musical term.
are you serious?
I swear to God,
That's
happened numerous times.
that's insanity. But
Well, I mean, a lot of choir. Let me tell you something. When I
Insanity.
where I did choir, it was a lot of theater kids. So the final track on Pet Sounds is Caroline No. Now, as I said before, Caroline No was originally released as a Brian Wilson solo track, and Brian has said that had this been a success, this would have been a Brian Wilson album, not a Beach Boys album. This song was inspired by two women, Tony Asher's ex-girlfriend Carol Amon and Brian's former schoolmate Carol Mountain. Now the song was originally called Carol I Know,
mhm.
but Brian misheard it as Caroline No, so he turned it into Caroline No. Um, so some of the percussion on this track is an empty water cooler being struck from the bottom with a mallet. You definitely can hear some of like the I don't know what it is, like the shakers, like kind of almost sounds like like things you just shake in choir. Kind of like gives that thing. There's harpsichord on there, flute, like lots of cool backing tracks on here, wood blocks. And this is a song basically about lost love. Where did your long hair go? Where is the girl I used to know? Caroline, no. Brian sings it incredibly well. It's a great vocal from him. He actually sped this up a semitone.
Mhm.
Paul McCartney later did the same thing on "She's Leaving Home" because if you listen to the mono mix and the stereo remix, it's sped up. The old stereo mix is slowed down because they forgot to speed it up when they did it. And Brian did that to make himself sound younger. That was a trick they used to do back in the day they would just speed up the tape by a semitone and makes you sound younger. They did the same thing with Surfin' on Surfin' Safari. Yeah, this is just a really, really beautiful song. Brian sings it so well. It's such a heartbreaking song. The bridge, incredible.
Oh, man.
I want to go on and cry. It's so sad to watch a sweet thing die. And then the album closes with the sound of a running train and then Brian's two dogs, Banana and Louie, barking. And depending on what CD you have, there are some CDs that actually track it separately. And I think that to me almost like kind of ties the whole theme of like loss of innocence, moving away from home, moving away from the unfamiliar. Like I kind of see it almost as like, like that's like Caroline on the train leaving, and then the dogs are barking while she's gone. I think it just kind of like ties the whole thing up with a bow. So this I just think is a really beautiful song, and it's a very, very heartbreaking song.
Yeah, this one is it's definitely top four. I don't know. I can't really properly rank some of my favorite tracks on here because they're really great for different reasons. But man, this song is just arranged so cool. I don't think there's like a necessarily like a chorus because you have like the first minute. It's kind of like "Happiness is a Warm Gun" by the Beatles. Ironically, but the Beach Boys did it first technically, where you have like a minute and a half of kind of following the regular structure, but then it kind of goes on to this separate thing with like "Oh Caroline now," and it's just like the instrumental play. It's really cool. Um, I remember Jake, you probably remember this. I remember I was dating this girl for a little bit, and I made the mistake of not really trusting. I just she was cool, so I kept dating her. But I remember one time I showed her Caroline No, and she didn't like it, and I asked her why, and she's like, the chords don't match. I'm like, that's kind of the point. She's like, the chords don't match. They're very like dissonant, very. First of all, she used the word dissonant wrong. But she's like, they don't really match, and they're all very sad, and there's like no big uplifting. I'm like, but she's like, they're very like dark and brooding, and they don't really like. There's no like uplifting part. I'm like, that's kind of the point. It's like what makes it like kind of a really sad song is it's almost left like a cliffhanger. It's left
Mhm.
very not unfinished, but like it's kind of like the ending of The Sopranos, where it's just kind of like spoiler alert, by the way, it just kind of cuts to black and it just kind of keeps going and it ends and it's
That's
very
not
sad.
even a spoiler at this point. Everybody knows how The Sopranos ends.
Yeah, but it's kind of the point of the song. So I mean, I will never forgive her for that. And I asked her like, because dude, she likes.
So she didn't like that it just ends on like a verse.
No,
That's
she didn't like everything about it. She's like the chords are very gloomy and they don't really match really well, and
isn't that
doesn't
the
create like a
point?
What were you gonna say she does like, Riley? She likes what?
she okay, so she likes like a lot of like modern pop music, and I won't diss her for that because everybody has their own taste. But then she lists off things that kind of like why she likes those songs. I'm like, well, she's like, well, Taylor Swift was actually pretty inventive with this use of chord struck.
That sounds like the girl I used to date.
Dude, you are such a fucking hypocrite. Anyways, TLDR, this song is just so inventive and really cool in a different way than I would say some of the other songs that Brian's written, where he kind of creates, the sense of longing and longing, I guess, for lack of a better term, for it uses it differently because you have like the verse, and then you have the Caroline No, and then it kind of goes in the little instrumental part, the second half, then you have like the barking and all the train passing by, which by the way, I don't I it's something about the train passing by makes me feel really sad and like
Yeah,
Hmm.
very
yeah.
is very inventive and it's a very cool structure for a song. And that girl sucked, man. How do you not like I can understand not liking it, but the reasons you listed are the reasons why it's so great.
Yeah.
So she's like, why are there dogs barking? The album's called Pet Sounds.
I mean, here's the thing. I like Taylor Swift more than I would say both of you, but like to say that her chord use is inventive is definitely not even true. Like there's a whole video you can see she uses like the same chords in like 20 different songs and they all sound the same. It's like Shawn Mendes. There was this mashup one time that they put like five Shawn Mendes songs together and they sounded like the same goddamn song.
Getting to good music. So yeah, Caroline No, yeah, this is just man, this is like such a incredible way to close the album. one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite songs in the catalog. One of my favorite songs Brian ever wrote. Favorite ballads. I could just keep going on and on. Just such a moving piece. Really emotional song. Just the opening line, "Where did your long hair go? Where is the girl I used to know? How could you lose that happy glow? Oh, Caroline, no." Like, God, it's just so moving. And that bridge you mentioned too, Matt. The "It's so sad to watch a sweet thing die." Like, oh my gosh, it's just so emotional. Um, it's kind of a song about, it's a love that's over. It's like, where did the love go? Like, kind of like it's gone. And there's not, kind of, you look at previous songs like with Here Today, where it's like, one day it's gone, and now in this song it's gone. And the train at the end, I think, is very moving too. It kind of represents like a part of someone's life is over almost. It's like we're moving on. You hear the dogs barking, and then it kind of fades at the end. Yeah, it's just so moving. I love the instrumental arrangement with the harpsichord, the flutes, like when the vocal drops out and you just have I think it's French horn actually. I'm sorry. Yeah, really love that too. Yeah, just such a moving song. Tony Asher did a hell of a job with the lyrics on this one. I know it's, part of it's, it's Brian's ideas and he's kind of translating it, but man, it's so good. So this is a highlight of the band's catalog and one of my favorite ballads ever. I love it.
Yeah, I think I have to double, of course, because of course I have a spreadsheet. I'll have to double check the spreadsheet. This might be my favorite on the album.
It's a top three for me, I
Dude,
think. You have to put it top three. Yeah.
it's so it reminds me of Smile.
See, and Riley, this is one of those ones I'd like to see more people cover.
Yes,
This is an
absolutely.
example.
Like,
This
dude,
is what we're talking about.
Well, I will say
it's
this: there is a tribute album called Caroline Now, so
yeah.
Yes,
that's kind of cool.
there's some good stuff on there. There's some good
Mhm.
stuff.
I think this could be one where like even if you just did like the first majority of the song, the first 2 minutes, I guess, or minute and a half of just like the main song, you cover it, like that would be one I'd kind of, I don't know if I'd like ukulele on it, but like just acoustic guitar or like just a piano, which I would kind of do. Dude, I'm telling you, if that girl listened to the song as just a piano and vocal arrangement, she would love it. But because of all the little instruments and the dogs barking, you gotta hate it. But
I think there are certain songs where I really do think like if you strip them back for people, they'd be like, "That's really beautiful. What song is that? Oh, that's that Beach Boys song that I told you that I mentioned to you earlier that you said you didn't like, but here it is stripped back and now you like it. So
Yeah, maybe she just didn't like the backing track, or I don't freaking know.
God only
Um,
knows with that girl. Pun not intended, by the way.
oh, that was
Yeah, I
come.
intend the puns, but not that time. It's just
I mean, the girl I used to date went from hating Benson Boone to liking him, so who knows with these people sometimes.
So
She went from like, oh, I don't like Benson Boone, get him out of my face, to, oh, he's grown on me, he's whimsical.
he's a
he's not
fucking
whimsical. He's just an idiot.
he's a freaking hack, is what he is. These
Whatever,
beautiful things.
whatever. I don't
Mystical, magical.
mystical magical headache. That's what that song gives me. Okay, we can cut all this. Okay, we're getting way off topic.
Yeah,
So
poor editor Jake. That was is gonna suck.
we're not too much bonus material today. The main one is Trombone Dixie. Now, this has also been subtitled as highlights from tracking session or whatever, or tracking date. Um, I've only listened to this a handful of times. It's interesting. From what I remember, I kind of liked like the tuba or whatever that sound was throughout it. I don't know if it's like a tuba, whatever. It's like a
Trombones on there for sure.
trombones. Yeah, like the
I would
trombone.
hope so.
I hope so. It's called Trombone Dixie. Definitely like a cool little piece. Nice little like throw, like kind of nice little jam thing. Not something I come back to like often, but a nice little like kind of like you can just kind of hear like the musicians kind of like doing their thing. So it's cool, but not something that I think is like essential or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this should replace any either of the instrumentals on here, but the fact that I think the story goes Brian had like a little composition like literally in his pocket, and he's like, we had 20 minutes in the studio, so I just gave it to them. They recorded it and they just called it a day. It's a really cool highlight to hear like all the mains of the wrecking crew getting like their own little like spotlight. I think it was really cool. Like Carol Kay, you really hear her like digging on that bass. Like the bells on this one. It's a pretty cool track. But it's better as like an insight as to like how recording was for the Wrecking Crew at the time than it is like actually like its own thing. Like I've heard people call this a masterpiece. Nah, it's dude.
Master.
I remember re-listening to it either earlier today after I mentioned it to Jake, Or I don't know, like a couple weeks ago, I saw somebody say, "I can't believe Brian recorded this masterpiece and just left it off the album."
I
It's
saw that same comment. Whoever said that, I saw it too.
Well, someone said Tune X was Carl's best song, so people say
right. I
whatever
mean,
else.
It's not Matt. Not all of us have ears that work. It's okay.
it's it's a cool track. I mean, especially just like as like an inside to like this time. We hear a lot of like tracks about like Smile and stuff and those kind of era where there's like endless recordings that are always on YouTube. But I don't think there's as many with like pet sounds. And this was really cool to hear kind of just how like the studio was at the time, just kind of like environment it was, just hearing just the instruments. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was like barely familiar with this. Like even as somebody that's been a fan now for like 5, 6 years, like I maybe had heard it once in my life. So this was the first time in a long time I'd heard it. I dig it. I think it's pretty cool. It reminds me a little bit of some of the other mid-tempo songs Brian was doing around this time, kind of like a Let 'Em Run Wild or like Little Girl I Once Knew. It kind of has like a similar groove to it at points. Um, I can see why, like, this isn't really a finished thing. I don't think it was just like you said, Riley. They're taking a Brian idea and they just worked on it for a bit and called
It's
it
like
a
a
day.
jam. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's cool for what it is. And like, I wouldn't have minded this getting released as like, a B-side to something. It would be kind of a cool listen. And I'm a little surprised it's not on streaming either. If you search this on like Spotify, it doesn't come up. You can only listen to it on like YouTube, which is interesting. But
Yeah, I want to say this first showed up on the 1990
I
CD.
think you're right. I think it's on
Yeah.
and it's on the Sessions box set
Yeah,
possibly
and
too.
it might be on the DCC Gold. I don't quote me on that though.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the instrumental with the you got the trombone and like you said, you can prominently hear the bass too from Carol Kay. So yeah, it's a cool track, but definitely not like essential listening. It's just a cool piece to hear once in a while. So
Yeah. It's not on the DCC Gold. They have that has Hang On to You.
got gotcha.
Yeah, so
Wasn't
that
there another one? What was the other one? Hang on your ego. We
I
kind of
think we
already
already
did
talked
Well,
about
we kind
that.
of already talked
We
about
already
it.
talked about that.
Yeah.
song
So
about drugs. Yeah.
The song
yeah,
about song about drugs and don't do them.
Mike, don't
Or
say
do them. Just be
Or
safe.
do them and don't lose your head. You just gotta you
Well,
gotta
hang on your ego when you do
yeah,
them.
hang on to your ego. Yeah, don't become the Lizard King or whatever. I don't know.
I am the Lizard King. Dude, every time people quote that, they think they're the coolest shit ever. Like, shut up.
I was just thinking of like Jim Morrison. He did a shit ton of drugs.
Yeah, I had a friend from summer camp. I had a couple like this, but she was like, "Oh, isn't Jim Morrison so cool?" He's like, "I'm the Lizard King." I'm like, "That's he was like drugged out of his mind. That's not cool."
I think girls just think he's cute because he was a very good looking guy.
And that's why they think the band's one of the greatest of all time. They're good, but
They are good. They
they're all right. They're like B tier, I'd say.
man, Riley, you're gonna have a lot of people coming after you after this episode.
I let them come.
Let him run
Let
wild.
them. I was about to say that.
Anyway, my closing thoughts on Pet Sounds. I think it is a very groundbreaking album. I think thematically it works very well. I think it's a very relatable record. The arrangements are incredible. The harmonies are incredible. The melodies are incredible. The vocals across the board, like the lead vocals and everything, is wonderful. I think you said it, Jake, or someone said that it aged pretty well. It did
Yeah.
age very well, especially lyrically. And yeah, it's just one of those albums that like it kind of got more appreciated with time, especially in the United States. I think starting in like the 70s, 80s, people started kind of going back to this and being like, and then in the 90s, you started seeing like a lot of indie bands like covering, I know like Sonic Youth covered songs from here and like
Yeah, they covered I Know There's an Answer.
yeah,
It's a pretty cool cover, I'm not gonna lie. It's very
Sub Pop,
inventive.
Sub Pop of all labels released, I think one of the songs as like as a 45 single. So I know that this album was very influential on a lot of indie artists. I mean, even Questlove of all people has talked about that he loved this. He like ran to get the Pet Sound Sessions and he put people on it that and he comes from like an R&B, soul background and he was like turning on some of his hip hop friends onto it and they like were like, wow, like now we see what you're talking about. So like this is an album that really like it impacted so many different genres, so many different artists, so many different, types of music. I know there's that quote that said like, you could argue that every song on this album created its own subset of pop music, and I definitely think we could think of examples. So, like I said, is it my favorite Beach Boys album? I wouldn't call it that anymore. I did for many years, but I still love it. It remains a crown jewel in the catalog, and it is one of Brian's crowning achievements as a producer and songwriter.
It's kind of like It's I would say I would relate this to like Dark Side with Pink Floyd, where it's like it's without a doubt their best. Like you can't deny it. Like Dark Side and Pet Sounds are like so easily like there's not much you can really change about it to make it better. Um, and they're so inventive in their uses of recording and engineering and just even down to like mic placement, not mic love, like microphones,
Microphone. Yeah.
mic placements.
And Mike, where he
And
was
Mike Love, yeah, he's
right
used
in the
really
center.
well in this one. Um, so in just there's not much you can really change, and everything down to like the last like detail was done so perfectly. Like you can't deny how good it is. But when it comes to like the fan base, they'll just prefer other ones. But it's just undoubtedly great. And every time I don't listen, I don't really come back to this one too much, but when I do, I'm just easily reminded how great the songs are. The flow of the record is really good. I think that Brian, I don't know if he was one of the first, but I think he was one of the most prominent around this time of just even like the way the tracks were ordered were like very much particular with wouldn't it be nice being the opener, Caroline No being the closer, where he placed the instrumentals. So, which you actually kind of see them experimenting with that track order on, like, an album like Today, but still, like here, it's kind of more fleshed out. It's not so much split down the middle. It's like, all right, we're gonna have the dynamics. It's gonna go up and then it's gonna go down, and it's very. This one was like the most attention to detail album I think a lot of any artist have ever done. So it's great. And it changed the game in terms of how albums were viewed. Like I said in the beginning, there's a direct line from this to Sergeant Pepper's to Dark Side of the Moon. And obviously from there you have so many different genres exploding in the 70s, and each one is kind of inspired by different things from this one and stuff that was inspired by. It's you can't deny how great it is.
Hmm. Yeah,
Still
and
not my favorite though. I have a couple others that I put this above this one, but
but I agree with what you said. Like I don't come back to this too often because it's a very heavy listen. But when I do, I'm blown away. And what you mentioned about detail oriented, like yeah, I see that with Sergeant Pepper's. Like you mentioned, I see that with Dark
Dark
Side.
Side.
I see that with like Steely Dan's Asia, like so albums like that that
Think
are.
about it. Dark Side of the Moon has two instrumentals on it.
Hmm.
They're placed very similarly. You have
But
any color you'd like at the tail end, right before Brain Damage, which is the last track. Well, Eclipse kind of goes with Brain Damage, but you know what I mean. And then you have On the Run, which comes before Time. Very similarly to how you have Let's Go Away for a While, and then Sloop John B, and then Pet Sounds before Caroline No. So
But yeah, like I see what you're saying. Like this is a very detail oriented album, and you can kind of see that in other albums where like you kind of see everything has a place and everything. I think another thing too I want to mention too, the original mix of this was not the best, and I think that kind of let it down a bit. Like might be a little sacrilegious, but I think I prefer the stereo mix overall, just because it doesn't sound so muddy. I think they mixed the whole thing in like a couple hours, and it kind of shows. Because it is a really well recorded album. It just kind of suffered from bad mixing. There are other albums that are great albums that were just not recorded very well. Around the same time, the Velvet and Nico, most of that album is recorded like absolute dog shit, but it's still a great album because it's very like muddy and raw sounding. Um, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, it deserves its place towards the top of a lot of these album rankings. And like you said, Riley, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, as fans, we're going to get more into other albums. It's like, you get into Sunflower, or you get into Love You, or,
Beach
Today, whatever
Boys
it is,
85.
80, or you get into
Oh
85.
man, for me.
But, but like, just re-listening to this week, like, just like sitting down and just paying attention to the music, just like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, like, is this Sunflower's not better than this? Come on, like, this clear Sunflower.
Yeah, like
It's
even
my
like I,
personal,
I like songs like Got to Know the Woman and stuff, but like
yeah.
they're kind of
Listening to
throwaway, like there's not a single song on here that as much as I like it or dislike it, you can't call it a throwaway. Like
it,
there's so
right,
much put into it
right.
that even if the chord structure was just similar or not similar, simple, like just the arrangement alone will change that basic chord structure to some great like that's what Sloop John B is
Right.
or regular major chords. And he transformed it into something absolutely different. It's
Yeah, and I feel like, this is one of those albums too with repeated listening. Like you keep coming back to it because you'll notice something different with every listen. Like because the soundscape is so like there's so much going on, where it's like, oh, I just noticed that bass line, or like that's really cool. So I think it's an album that really rewards, replaying it, re-listening to it. And it's one that, there's a lot of people, I'm sure most listeners to this podcast, probably love this album, but there are people out there that like, I see them say like they still struggle with this album. They've listened to it a bunch of times. Like, I don't get it. It's overrated. It's not on the same level as the Beatles, whatever. But I would just say like, just keep listening to it because eventually I think it will click. There's definitely elements of it that, some of it just comes down to taste for sure. Like obviously if you like bands like the Beatles and kind of some of like the more, Baroque sounding stuff, there's more of a chance you're going to like this. But overall though, I just think it's a very, very innovative and influential album. And you can definitely hear the influence that this had on a lot of bands and artists. So I really love it. And it's one that I'd recommend anybody to listen to. It's just really amazing.
Yeah.
There's a reason why anybody asks, hey, how do you get into Beach Boys? You either pointed into Endless Summer, Pet Sounds, or both.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you
Yeah.
have like the flow chart, it's like, okay, here, start here. And then if you like this,
Go
go.
dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. Like this is an album that may take a couple times to click. I can't think of too many people that listened to this and like the first time it was like the whole thing.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
of
for
a
me,
couple like
yeah.
Rate Your Music Nerds who might have said that, but
Maybe musicians, but many Beach Boys fans I've talked to online in real life
oh yeah.
that like
I
yeah.
mean, like for me, it was only the singles initially. I liked "Wouldn't It Be Nice" and I liked "God Only Knows" and I liked "Sloop John B." And like beyond that, like songs like "That's Not Me," "You Still Believe in Me," even like "Let's Go Away for a While." Like those weren't things where I was just like, "Oh, this is amazing. I want to come back to this." But then like with repeated listening, like and just like listening to the arrangements and the lyrics and everything, and just like how interesting the music is. I feel like my appreciation for this album went up as I started exploring more music. When like I started
Yeah.
listening beyond just like my basic, like, okay, here's my Beatles and stuff. Like I started listening to more stuff. And I think that helped me appreciate this a lot more. Where I'm like, damn, like comparing this to like all these other like albums and stuff, like, wow, this is just like incredible. So
For sure.
all right, we will wrap it up there then. So thank you everybody for listening to the 61st episode of Good Timin'. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I had a really great time as always discussing Pet Sounds with you guys, and it was interesting hearing your guys' thoughts on each of the different tracks. So before we wrap up, I also thought it was worth mentioning that this was our final official Beach Boys studio album discussion here on Good Timin'. It's honestly kind of crazy to me that we've now managed to cover pretty much everything from Surfin' Safari all the way through That's Why God Made the Radio, but
With the live albums included too.
and the live albums as well.
And the
But
Christmas one.
true.
Yep. We did do Christmas.
But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for listening to all of these discussions. And while we might be done discussing the studio albums now, we still have plenty of Beach Boys related content to discuss in the future.
There's a couple things we can call the albums that we can look at
For sure. So yeah, so even though we're wrapping up this third and final full season of the podcast soon, we have some more content on the way.
We have some fantastic content.
So yeah.
Vroom vroom, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Anybody like NASCAR? So yeah, as always, if you like this podcast and want to hear more, feel free to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. We greatly appreciate the support as it motivates us to make more episodes in the future. Also, as a reminder, the Good Timin' podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So there's plenty of different places to listen and keep up with the show. So thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.